This tutorial details the first part of adding a patient into the system, the patient's demographic information. The learning objectives for this tutorial are: understand that it is important to always search for a new patient before entering them. This will help avoid entering a duplicate patient record. Understand and use the Add Patient Demographic Info screen. And of course, don't forget to save your work, which automatically takes you to the next step in the process. The first thing you do before you schedule, document, and ultimately bill a patient for a date of service is entering them into the system. This can be done in all three primary tabs: Schedule tab, Patient Care tab, and Business tab. Find the patient search box in the upper left-hand corner here. Always search for the new patient before adding them. It is critically important to ensure that you are not inadvertently creating a duplicate record by mistake. Once you have confirmed that this patient is not already in the system, click the Add New Patient icon co-located in the Patient Search area. You will add all of their primary demographic information in this first part of the process. You can always come back later on to add information if it isn't immediately available, upon saving. You may recall from the Patient Information Screen tutorial that the demographic information will ultimately be displayed differently. The reason we have the information displayed in this format is to allow the user to enter in the information in a linear fashion for speed. Note, there is no need to take your hands off the keyboard. Use your Tab key to move down the page, and when you encounter a drop-down box, simply select the first letter of your choice. Enter in the patient's title, if they have one: Dr., Mr., Mrs., etc. First name, middle name, last name, suffix, the fourth, junior, etc. Optionally, enter a nickname if you like. You can use the mouse to select the gender from the drop-down, or simply tab into the box and use your F or M key to select. Enter the patient's date of birth. It recognizes almost any format. However, remember to use a 4-digit year. As with the gender drop-down above, use your mouse or tab into the box to use the S, M, D, or W keys. Employment status. These next three items are not required for an insurance claim. However, you may want to gather these details for other purposes. For example, if you ever need to send someone to collections, this information is very handy. Driver's license number, social security number, and mother's maiden name. The signature date is the one that will be listed on the claims for this individual. This is the date that they sign the documents that allows you to submit claims to their payers, as can be seen here in box 12 of this sample claim. If you are a solo practitioner, you will most likely not use this feature. For practices with multiple practitioners, this feature allows you to note the primary practitioner by type, DC, PT, or MT, and who the primary is exactly. This selection will be displayed when your staff is using the scheduling portion of the system. You can always schedule a patient with any practitioner. This simply lets your staff know who generally sees the patient. You can enter their primary address here. You will have an opportunity to add as many addresses as you like later on in the process. Select the type of phone. Enter in their primary contact number here. As with an address, you will have an opportunity to document as many alternate phone numbers later in the process. If you would like to have a text message sent to the patient's cell phone automatically to remind them of all their appointments, check the box next to Text Messages on Carrier. Then select the patient's cell phone service carrier. Yes, you will need to start gathering that information in order for you to use this feature. And yes, this is free for the practice. We have provided this service at no additional cost to Red Pine members. Enter their primary email address here. You can also have an email notification automatically sent to the patient's email address to remind them of their appointments. Simply add the email address, check the box, and an email will automatically be sent to the patient's inbox at 9 a.m. Central Standard Time, the day before their appointment. This will give the patient plenty of time to call with any required changes. The same timeline applies to the text messages as well. Document receipt preferences allows you to set, as a default, the way in which this patient prefers to receive invoices. You can always choose to print and mail invoices or email an invoice manually, but this gives you the ability to automate that function, thus creating efficiencies. The marketing section allows you to document the referring source for this patient. This could be an individual or marketing method. You could, for example, document TV as the source and spot number 3 as the name. This allows you to better evaluate your marketing efforts. You will most likely not use this feature very often. You can determine who is responsible for the patient's charges up to 3 levels of responsibility. The vast majority of practices only have a single charge sheet, and discount off of that one is necessary. If you are one of the few who uses multiple charge sheets, use the drop-down to determine which charge sheet is going to be attributed to this patient. Your office will specify the payment term during setup. This is how long the patient has to pay their invoices before they become delinquent. You can adjust the number of days for specific patients if needed, to account for special circumstances. This feature is generally used for prepayment plans. See the follow-on invoicing tutorials for more information. You can add additional contact information for this patient below. For example, to add employment information for this patient, click on the blue arrow here to expand the selection. Enter in the appropriate information, and click the Save button. You can also document a spouse and their employment information here, parent-guardian information here, emergency contacts, and the patient's attorney information if relevant. The final step in the demographic information portion of the process is to save here. You will automatically be taken to the next step in the process, which is entering in the insurance information. See the follow-on tutorial for details.